important steps, a model for how to guide your evolutionary change. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Anna.
Thank you very much, Todd, and thanks to everyone who decided to spend this time with us. So today I would like to show you some stuff from the KMM world, the Kanban Maturity Model. And as Todd told us, in some way, this is a new development. In the others, this is just updates. So maybe I will just start from something that we have really tangible, that you can touch and you can put your hands on that. So this is the book that you might probably remember, the old one, version 1.1 of the Kanban Maturity Model. And this is the book that was written by David Anderson and Theodora Bożywa a couple of years ago. And 1.5 years ago, it was October 2020, we released the second edition of this book, which now looks like that. So if you compare these two books like this and this is what we have right now. So version 1 and version 2. So basically version 1 is right now appendix to version 2. And in the version 2 of the Kanban Maturity Model, you can find much more materials because version 1 was mostly focused on the practices. So some very practical stuff that you can actually start applying to your organization. In version 2, you have much more material about the coaching and how you can drive the change from the coaching perspective. And but you know what this Kanban Maturity Model is. So Kanban Maturity Model is the model of organizational maturity. And so this is something that I would like to start with because this is one of the most common misconceptions. When we say that Kanban Maturity Model, people say usually, this is the model of Kanban, which matures. And we say, no. It's not Kanban which matures, this is organization which matures. And we are using Kanban method to help organizations to do it. And I have shown to the book, which you can of course buy, and you can put it on your shelf and you can use it. But I would like to also show you the other mean to access the same content and even more content, which will be KMM Plus. And I would like to start with showing you KMM Plus, what it is, how it works, how you can use it, who can use it, and who is the target for us. And also then I will show you how to navigate through KMM Plus. And very, very shortly, I will also tell you about the Kanban Maturity Model as the model itself, in case you didn't have a chance to learn about it earlier. So maybe let's start with me sharing my screen. All right. So this is KMM Plus. So if you type kmm.plus in your browser, this is what you are going to see. And in the KMM Plus, you can access, as I mentioned, the book content, but you can also access much more stuff from the KMM world. And actually, we treat the KMM Plus right now as the platform and service, because this is online service, where you have the access to the most updated, the newest knowledge from the Kanban world. So if you are at this page and you didn't have a chance to be here before, you need to create your account. So you just press the sign up button. You provide your personal details. Here you have some agreements. Of course, they are not obligatory. But if you let us to contact with you, then we are going to send you updates from the KMM world. So we promise to not send you spam. All our emails are informative. So we are sharing news, we are sharing updates, we are sharing new stuff that is being added to KMM Plus, which you can access for your subscription. So then you press sign up. And when you sign up, your account is created, then you log in. And I would like to show you a couple of different levels of access to the KMM Plus. So let's go back for a moment to the main page. When you go down to this main page, you can see that we have different levels of access. And first, I will start with this free access, what you can see having this level of subscription access, basically. And then we have two other levels, so basic subscription and professional subscription. You can access this material on a monthly or annual basis, depending on what you are looking for. So first, I will start with this free subscription. So you create an account, you sign in. And when you sign in, you will see a couple of elements here in the KMM Plus. And you will see that you have different levels of access to this material. So I usually say that, if you want to check what it is, if you want to just look around, like, jumping into the shop, looking around what you got here, just create free account and try this service for free. There are no commitments. We don't ask you for any payments. We don't ask you for credit card details. Just log in and start using it, because it will give you already some introductory content, and it will help you to understand what this service is about. And here are different things that you can access through this free subscription. So first of all, this first access is the views access. So here you can see that we have our KMM, Kanban Maturity Model content mapped by some topics, by some themes. So we have introduction, we have overview, then organizational maturity explained, outcomes and benefits, culture, and so on and so forth. And right now we have 18 of these, we call them posters, of these posters, and each of these posters, this is important information, each of these posters is clickable. So let's click on it right now. So now it took you to this introductory content, and clicking on any of the section which highlights here takes you to the content of the book. So if you are interested in learning, for example, about what are organizational maturity levels, how we designed the whole architecture, what consolidation and transition practices mean, you just click on it and you have explanation behind each of these sections. And from here, you can navigate using this next section button or previous section button, or you can go back to the poster view and click something else. All these green sections are available for free. So you can see that in terms of introductory, we made everything available for free. If there is any content behind the paywall, you can see that this is available for subscribers only. So this is the first way how you can access the content of the KMM book. The next one is the same content, but it's accessible for chapters. So if you go to the chapters, now you can read the book chapter by chapter, basically starting from this preface and acknowledgements, then all the chapters through appendices and references. References and about the authors is the last chapter from this hard copy of the book. Everything was behind is the content from new Kanban Maturity Model version 3 of the book. And I will show you in a moment what you can expect there. So this is the same content as in the views, but now available where you can read it basically like the book. Something new that we added like 2 days ago are case studies. So you are asking us about case studies. So, okay, we have nice content, you read it, but now how you can apply it. So we are clicking on case studies, and here we have collected all case studies that are related to the Kanban method. So the ones that you already know from the Kanban University, but also the ones that are strictly related to the KMM. And also what we have here, we have some versions of well-known case studies. So for example, this Blizzard sport, which is a famous case study from Eric Jan Kak. We have also another version of this case study, which was written by David. So you can look at the same situation and the same implementation from different perspectives and the perspectives of different people who helped doing that. All these case studies are available for everyone to read for free. The next thing are resources. In resources, you can find downloadable materials and video materials. These downloadable materials is anything that you can download, you can print it out, or you can just store it in your computers. So anything you need to do, you just press download button, you open it, and this file is available for you. It's high resolution PDF, so you can print it in this format that I have here on my wall, which is A0 format. So most of these posters is in A0 format. So you can download most of our posters, all posters which are from version 1.2, and a couple of posters that we made available from version 1.3 for you. Also some additional stuff like KMM alphabet, some free chapters, question and answer. and also some new posters which are not published elsewhere yet. In video materials, you can access all videos which are available for free. So what we are doing, we are basically searching the web, looking for some content which is about the Kanban maturity model. So you can find here videos from conferences. You can find webinars that people are doing around the world, not only Kanban University, not only David J. Anderson School of Management, but basically all our partners, our colleagues, people from community doing different stuff and talking about the Kanban maturity model. So for example, from Digite, from Squirrel North, from Kirill Klimov and other guys. So I really encourage you to go here, because we are trying to collect all of this information spread around YouTube and other sources of videos, so you can everything in one place. And the last part here are modules. And in modules, you can access KMM content, but in the video format. And the difference between these resources and these modules here. So let's go to this introduction. You can hear what this module is about, and you can see that we are planning to add some more stuff here. And when you click on videos, what you have here are videos of David Anderson explaining Kanban maturity model. So you can not only read about KMM, but you can also watch videos about KMM directly from the source. So one of co-authors of KMM. And why I like these videos is not only explaining the KMM stuff in a very nice and easily digestible way, but here you will also hear like thousands of stories from David, which you will not hear elsewhere. So these are the stories of application. These are the stories of how KMM was constructed, built, how it evolved, and how you can start applying it for yourself. So I really encourage you to look at these materials. And again, there is some portion of this video materials which is available for everyone via this free access. So this is it in terms of the free access. Now let me share with you what the paid subscribers have available here. So when you have a paid subscription, which is basic subscription, what you can access now is the whole content in views. So you can basically access the whole content which is available from the book in the form of this topic, this themes. You can access all chapters. And now let me show you what we have behind references and about the authors. So this is the material from KMM 1.3. So we have some supplementary content which is being added by David and Theodora. And we have some beta material from KMM 1.3, which is mostly focused on the leadership stuff. So for example, decision filters, different integrations with Deming points for management, with Bezos points for leadership. And we also have some additional case studies, which we have now started to move to this case studies page. So of course, you can also access the case studies, you can access the same resources, and you also have limited access to modules. To have full access to all content that we have here, you need to have this professional subscription, which is here. And with this subscription, basically you have everything. So you don't need to look around and wonder what I can click, what I cannot. With professional subscription, you have everything available for you. Also, what's more here, you clicking here, you can go to blog. So if you want to read some articles or stories from the KMM, you can also access it through our blog. And why I'm talking about this blog, because here in this blog, you can read our latest article, which introduces the Kanban KMM Plus Insider community. So all our subscribers, no matter whether they are basic subscribers or professional subscribers, are automatically enlisted as participants or members of this KMM Plus Insiders community. And we are planning for this some special events for this community, extra webinars, closed Q&A sessions, meetings with consultants and authors of the book. So I really encourage you to try and to be part of this KMM Plus community. So this is it in terms of what you can find in KMM Plus. And now few words about the KMM, Kanban Maturity Model itself. Unless Todd, we have any questions? No? Okay.
No questions so far. So if you do have questions, please put them in the chat and we'll get to them.
Exactly. So any questions you have in mind, ask them about KMM Plus, but also about the KMM as a whole concept. So now let me use this KMM Plus to show you how you can access the knowledge by yourself. So if we go to, again, here, yes, we go here to KMM Plus to explain the concept of the KMM Plus. I usually use this overview poster or our pizza poster, but most of people like pizza poster, so I will use this one. So basically we are clicking on pizza poster, and clicking here, you will see which sections are available here. So we have a couple of sections. And I will very, very shortly tell you about the KMM, Kanban Maturity Model, and how you can understand it in the context of your organization. So we'll start from this yellow and we'll go to the left to this build for survival, this navy blue color. And here you can see the levels, the maturity levels from 0 through 6. Starting from level 0, this is the lowest level in organizational maturity. This is the level which we call oblivious. And I will never forget one of the meetings which we had where Todd was sitting. And Todd told us that the main problems with organization at this oblivious level is the fact that they are oblivious to being oblivious. And I keep repeating that because I think that this is something that you should keep in mind working in the organization, which you identify as maturity level 0. Maturity level 0 organization is the one which is very individual in that sense that people are not collaborating with each other. There is almost no transparency. People just don't talk, they don't cooperate. There is almost no initiative, acts of taking initiative. Everyone is focused on their own tasks, just to deliver something, close it, and go home and forget about the world. Which sometimes brings us to the situation that, for example, a couple of people is working on the same task because they just don't communicate. So this is the world of individuals, and there is really no purpose in doing work instead of just doing it and delivering it. When we talk about the culture of this organization, we observe the value of achievement. So where people are just proud of finishing something, that they have delivered their tasks and they can say, okay, I've done it. So if we see this value of achievement, this is something that we can start build upon. And this may be the challenge in these organizations, that we need to show them that there is still a lot of work and they need to start understanding that their organization needs to mature. Then we have level 1, which is team focused. And this is the situation where we have a couple of individuals who started working together, who start to collaborate, who start to visualize work. So we have some sort of transparency already. We can see that I'm working on this and Todd is working on something else and Monica is working on item 3. But actually my work and Monica's work are basically the same. So maybe we should work together, or maybe I should work on it and Monica can start doing something else. So this is when we start talking to each other. This is when we start organizing ourselves into a group of people who are focused on something what will start emerging at maturity level 2, which is service. The problem with team-focused organization is that delivery is still very inconsistent. There is basically no predictability in delivery. The process is emerging, but there may be still a lot of surprises in this process. So we act very randomly, and sometimes we are lucky in delivery, sometimes we are not. In most of the cases, we are not lucky. Going down, we have customer-driven maturity level 2. This is the moment when we start to realize that there is customer, and this customer wants something from us. That the demand that is coming to our process is not appearing out of nowhere, like a miracle in our backlog, but actually there is someone who wants something from us, and what we are doing is delivering the service. So this is when we try to understand what our customer wants, who our customer is, first of all, what they want, and what we can do to make sure that they are satisfied. So this is the moment when this team or teams, because we go on the service level, start to cooperate to deliver service or product to end user and make sure that end user is happy. And when we talk about this level and predictability at this level, it's still very inconsistent, but in most of the cases, we deliver something that customer expects rather than we don't, like it was at maturity level 1. And if we think about situation from our life, I'm using this pizza example. So let's talk about pizza restaurant. If we have a maturity level 2 pizza restaurant, this is the restaurant where you go, you order your Hawaiian pizza. I know that Hawaiian pizza is not a pizza, but you order your Hawaiian pizza and you expect that it will be delivered in 20 minutes for you. So we expect there will be pineapple, there will be ham probably and some cheese, and you will get it in 20 minutes. At maturity level 2, you may get this pizza in 20 minutes, but you also may get this pizza in 30 minutes or 1 hour. And probably it will be Hawaiian pizza, but you may sometimes get salami pizza. And actually people who do this not necessarily know why. What is the difference between level 2 and 3? When we are in maturity level 3 organizations, when you order your Hawaiian pizza, which should be delivered in 20 minutes, you will get it and it will be delivered within 20 minutes. This is the organization which we call fit for purpose, fit for customer purpose, where delivery is very predictable and customer is happy because we deliver something that customer really needs and in the shape that they need it, and which brings the real value to them. The problem with maturity level 3 organizations is that not necessarily they are risk hedged. So we are talking about fully risk hedged organization at maturity level 4. This is where not only customer is happy, but everyone is happy. Vendors, stakeholders, owners, employees, customers, of course, too. So everyone who has a contact with this organization is happy. Organization is anticipating risk and is preparing for this risk. So most of the risks organization is able to see and to anticipate. Then out of all of this force, maturity level force, we have market leaders. This is maturity level 5, simply the best in class. So if we think about our favorite pizza restaurant, so we have say 10 in our town. Out of these 10 restaurants, which are there for a couple of years already. So we know that they are not like comets just appearing and disappearing, but they are there for a couple of years, so they are risk hedged. We have one which is the best. So your colleague is coming, visiting you and ask, okay, so to which pizza restaurant I should go? And you say, go to this one, this is the best. They are winning every contest. They are always 5-star restaurants. Out of all of these wonderful restaurants, some of them have Michelin stars. So these are market leaders. And then level 6, build for survival. This is the organization which is reinventing itself, but not as the reaction to what's going on around them. This is the organization which has reinvention built in its DNA. So it's reinventing even though it doesn't have to. It's changing, it's improving to be ready for whatever may come. So these are the organizations which are able to survive most of the problems that may appear. Not all of them, of course. If the meteor is going to hit our planet, probably they won't. But most of other cases, they will be ready to survive the storms. And as Kanban coaches, Kanban consultants, what we strive to achieve is maturity level 4. So not everyone has to be market leader. Not everyone has to be maturity level 6, built for survival. But maturity level 4 organization is the one that is really nice to work in. So this is our goal, to help organization to grow to this level. And now, if we say that this is Kanban Maturity Model, and I told you that this is organizational maturity model, not Kanban maturing here, there is a question that is coming back very often in the classes, specifically when I teach about this, but I don't do Kanban, or we have Scrum here, we do Save, we do Waterfall, we do whatever we have. So I cannot use KMM. Of course, you can use KMM. Kanban Maturity Model is, because it's organizational maturity model, you can use it whatever you do. So you just apply our main change management principle, start with what you do now, no matter what you do now, and improve. And if we go back here for a second, I would like to show you this practice map. This is the stuff that I have on my wall. A bit intimidating when you look at it for the first time. But what you can find here are all practices which are mapped for the maturity levels and across these 6 general practices. And this practice map guides you and shows you which practices are appropriate at your level. It helps you to avoid both overreaching, so applying some practices for which your organization is not ready for yet. And also they help you to avoid for summit plateau, where you don't see what you could achieve more, where you think, okay, we achieved everything, we don't know what to do next. So this practice map and the whole KMM, this Kanban maturity model, helps you to avoid this failure modes, and it guides you on this way to improving. And if you look through these practices here, when you have a second, just scan through it, and you will see that in most of these practices, there is no Kanban word, okay? So of course, we are talking about Kanban boards, but even Scrum teams are using Kanban boards, at least the ones that I know. But then if you look at some other visualization, for example, visualization practices, we are talking about visualizing basic policies, using avatars to visualize individual workload, visualizing multiple services aggregated on the service board. So this is something what you can start applying, even though you say, okay, I don't do Kanban in my organization. Just look at it, look at this content behind the practices, read what they mean, what are the implementation guidelines for you, and just try to implement them and observe what's going on with your process and with your systems. And it really doesn't matter whether you officially do Kanban, you unofficially do Kanban, or you don't do Kanban at all. Because believe me, this KMM stuff can help you whatever you do in your organization. So basically that's it from my side. Oh, no, sorry, one more thing. I would like to tell you what we are planning next in a couple of weeks. So the first thing that you will see that will be released very soon will be corporate account. And so we have people asking us about possibility to buy KMM subscription in bundle. So if you have such a situation that you would like to buy a bundle of licenses for your colleagues, for your organization, you will have a chance to do it. And we'll also offer you possibility to then manage users by yourself. So adding, removing, or adjusting users. So you don't need to write to us anymore. You can just do it in your admin panel. So this is something that will release in 2 to 3 weeks. And the next one, which I think will be interesting for the community, will be Kanban Maturity Model, available in different languages. So you can, when you log in, you will have a language to choose. And we kick off with Spanish, Portuguese, Polish, and we are also discussing German right now. And when you choose the language and you will navigate through KMM Plus, you will see that some content, so say you click on here in your language and you see, oh, this content is still in English, you will have a chance to translate this content by yourself. So we are opening KMM Plus for community translation. So we would like to invite you to participate in creating this content for your local communities and in your local languages. So more details about that when it will be released. So these 2 big features will be released, as I mentioned, over the next couple of weeks. So please follow our social media. You can also subscribe to the newsletter. So when it's released, you will be first to know. All right, so that's it from me. Thank you very much. Todd, do you have any questions, or maybe you got any questions or observations?
No questions from the audience. So if there are questions, do please put them in the chat and we will get to them. I think a couple of good observations that you brought forth. I think the importance of this is all about starting from what you do now, and the Kanban Maturity Model and the KMM Plus are your guide to how you drive that evolutionary change. What is your organization ready for? And what are some of the practices that you might look at to help drive those next levels? So I think there's a very important element of what we put forth, and a guide to a lot of people. We teach them the tools in some of our classes, but they may not know how to actually put them in order, and to avoid trying to take on too much or getting to a happy place and stopping.
And there's also one more thing that I usually share doing webinars or talks about KMM. So a couple of years ago, I was on my dream trip to Morocco. And so basically, before I go for a trip, I buy the guide, and I don't read it. Okay, so it's not like I buy the guide for a trip to Morocco and I read it A to Z. No, I don't. And it's the same with this book. Of course, you can read it. I encourage you to read it, but it's not something what usually took and read before you go to sleep, because it's not like a novel. It's like a guide. So you go for your trip to Morocco, metaphorically. So you are going on your trip to make your organization a better place. You need a guide to know what you should see, what's worth to do, what's worth starting with when doing this trip. So when I was in Morocco, I was in two cities, in Fez and Marrakesh. And of course, in this guide, there were a lot of other things that I could read about, but basically I focused on Fez and Marrakesh because these were the places that I was interested in. And I read about them a couple of times. So when I was in Fez, I was reading about Fez a few times. And you do exactly the same with this stuff. So when you are at maturity level 1, this is where you are focusing on. You are focusing on maturity level 1 organization. You are reading, you are trying to understand where you are today. You are, drawing this tour in your head. You are drawing this tour for organization. And KMM will be your guide in this trip. It will tell you what you should start with, what you should do next to achieve your goal, to achieve your target. And when you are going to another place, when you are going to the place which is called maturity level 2, then you are reading about maturity level 2, maybe some barriers to adoption, some cultural stuff at maturity level 2, some practices, transition practices, which may be useful for you to introduce maturity level 2 to your organization. So you don't have to read everything at once, because if you don't, then you don't know the stuff. No, you can just choose from this book whatever is applicable for you today, and then expand your knowledge when you are, doing this journey together with your organization. So use it as a guide, not as a book to read and put on the shelf.
Yeah, I really like that. I've many times where I've done the same thing. I bought the book, the travel book, and I've read it a little bit beforehand, but I stay away from making out a detailed plan until I actually get there. And then I have the context of the local, just like you're orienting yourself to the environment. And that's what we have to do in the Kanban world too. We want to orient ourselves. And then based on that, we figure out what's the thing that's appropriate at that location or at that maturity level.
Exactly.
Good. We have a good question in here. It's a great session. Thanks. He's saying, am I right to say that market leader maturity model might be misleading? As I've worked for a couple of market leading companies, he's not going to mention them, but in his opinion, they were not operating at level 5 at all.
Okay.
So maybe, and I think that's a great one, because that one comes up a lot. It's a little bit of a, just because you're doing great financially doesn't mean that you've got all the that you're a mature organization. You might have just got lucky. Right?
Okay, so I will just share my experience. So before I even knew about Kanban and KMM, so in my head right now, it's a bit of re-engineering. I worked in the organization, which was, using these definitions we have, was maturity level 6. This organization was 200 years old when I was working there. So they survived a lot, and so they survived all of these wars in US when it was not United States yet. And they survived all 19th century wars. They survived First, Second World War, recessions, everything. And they kept reinventing because they started as the company, moving cotton between what was back then not US to what was not UK. And then they built the like trace in the US from west to east coast. And then they started to move towards like banking stuff, so more investment and bank stuff. When I was working then, it was a bank, investment bank, but I was also there in the period of another reinvention, like moving from the investor services more towards building applications and tools to support investors. So right now, reinvent or transforming from the bank to organization or company supporting investors. And so from this general perspective, it was maturity level 6. But when I think about the project where I was product owner and project manager, it was, they have a guest, apologies. It was in the best case, maturity level 1 transition to 2. And if I looked around, there was like tons of maturity level 1 teams and or departments. And when we do this, because right now in the classes, different classes, we talk about KMM and they ask people, okay, so let's do some initial appraisal, nothing very complicated. Let's just talk about the organization. And people then say, okay, but should I talk about the organization? Because maybe I don't know, because it's huge. Or should I talk about my team or maybe my branch? I say, I don't know, just choose what you want. But what people start observing is it's not that easy. That I've never been in a situation that I could say, this is organization at maturity level 2. Because even when you do assessment of one group of people or one service, and you start, looking for practices, cultural values, you will see that they are spread around the whole map. So you can, even within one team, you may have practices from maturity level 0, 1, 2, and then 4. Because they are doing Monte Carlo simulation because they were asked. So I totally agree with this observation that it may be misleading because in the organizations which are high maturity organization, you may still have teams, branches, departments which are lower maturity. And then, but this is the beauty and the difficulty of Kanban, that it's very contextual. And you need to adjust what you are doing to each and every context. So when I was working with one of my clients recently, I had them spread somewhere between 0 and 3 transition. So I just cannot apply to them one set of guidance, improvements, and practices. I had to work with each of these groups separately to help them, close the gaps and improve at their own pace. So it is difficult.
Yeah, I think one of the things I've observed is that if you look at an organization's core business, they may be at a very high maturity. The thing they know how to do, they can do it well and they have it set. But once it gets out of their core, it often goes into a low maturity behavior just because it's not connected. So great. Got a question here, which I think I know the answer to, but I'll let you say. In the future, to have access to KMM Plus, will there be payment? I guess he's asking, is the free version going to be around forever?
The free version is there forever. So if you create your free account, you have access to this free account endlessly unless you decide to delete your account. So no, free access will always be there. And also, even if you don't have it and you created a free account, you read everything what was available, I still encourage you to stay with us, because what we do, and our people who follow our social media can see it, or newsletter, is that time to time we are changing what's available for free. So right now, for example, we have leadership quarter, and we are talking about different leadership stuff by the end of June. So we are making some posters and some content available for free, which was not available before. And by the end of June, we'll close our leadership quarter and we'll move to something else. So you can learn about the stuff, just being up to date with us. So free account will be free always.
All right, great. Okay, and then we've got a question here. By experience, do you have a case on the problem of resistance to change to implementing the KMM? And if so, what have you done?
I mean, these case studies that are there, I think, if not all of them, most of them have some parts where you can read about resistance to change. I have my own cases, like from my own life, but they are not written down there. Shame on me, because I should give a good example. But no, I'm not sure whether it's a good time to talk about my life and my experience as a coach. So I would like to ask you to go to case studies and read the stuff that we have here. If you have any specific questions, you can always reach out to me, and we can talk offline about the stuff that I've done. kmm@movisoft.com. This is our email, and I'm there, so you can just write to us.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the key things about the Kanban method is that the focus that we have on dealing with resistance and taking approaches either to go around the rock or to understand how to work through the resistance. And a large part of our Kanban coaching practices class is really about how do we deal with resistance, knowing that we're going to be going through a continuous state of evolutionary change.
Yeah.
All right, and then we have a question. If I have to choose between Kanban and KMM, what are the advantages of KMM? That's an interesting question.
I'm not sure what I understand, because you
don't
have to choose at all.
No, that's exactly. There is no choice. This is one where the Kanban Maturity Model is, in fact, really the codification of the practices that we have in Kanban, laid out on an organizational map and an evolutionary change map. So that's, we're not trying to create something new here. What we're creating is really an organizational model, a roadmap to help you in your journey. Because if you take all of the Kanban practices and tried to implement them all at once, you'd likely fail because you'd be overreaching.
Yeah, and there is an example that I usually use in the classes. So why KMM? Because we have a class, we are talking about 6 general practices, but sometimes it's like, especially when people are new and it's not intuitive, and we say, okay, so let's visualize right now. But what does it mean, visualize? And KMM will tell you in like really very small details what it means to visualize, or it will help you to avoid. I mentioned about this overreaching. So for overreaching, I'm using Monte Carlo simulation example, because this is the practice that I keep observing everywhere. So people are using Monte Carlo simulation, but they don't know what the lead time is. So this is just the practice which was implemented because someone told them to. But why we do it, no clue actually. So KMM, Kanban Maturity Model, codifies these practices and helps you to see what you should do to take the most of the practices that you have in your organization.
All right, and this is a good one here too. Saying in my experience, one of the biggest impediments to achieving higher maturity levels has been some of the tooling, things like ADO or Jira that have been built more around Scrum mindset or Scrum approaches. So we end up adding another layer but it never works as good as some Kanban-centric tools such as Kanbanize. So any help when changing, if you can't change the tools, what are some of the options you'd have? So how can we work around the tool as a resistance?
I think it depends on the tool. There are people in our community, for example, Daniel Plek, who are writing some articles and materials about doing workarounds in Jira, for example. And not that long time ago, like 2-3 weeks ago, there was another webinar here in Kanban Partners series. So you could see new developments for these tools. So you don't have to change the tool. You are just installing or buying this additional app or plugin, and you can keep using these tools and doing Kanban, more mature Kanban. I totally agree that this is impediment, and even if you look at our barriers to adoption, this tooling legacy is one of the barriers to adoption. So we are very aware of that. So yeah, there are some tools that are working right now pretty well with this legacy tools that we have, with metrics, for example. So I was using Nave for a couple of months, which was very supportive in terms of visualizing metrics and reading metrics that I couldn't just get directly from the tools that we had. So I'm not sure whether there is like one good solution. If we have what we have, we start with what we do now, and then we need to look around at the market. What can we do about it if we just cannot change the tool, or to try find something else?
Yeah, and to that, I would say that we know that tooling can be a bit of a barrier to adoption. At the same time, I'll say I've seen some quite impressive Kanban implementations using both ADO and Jira, that people have figured out how to work with it and do some very very good things. And so, Mario, I can point you to someone who has done quite some work with ADO in your question there. So
all right.
All right. I think we have no further questions at this time. Any last questions? Get them in quickly. But I really appreciate it. It's really great guide to both the Kanban Maturity Model and the KMM Plus implementation that makes it available, and a lot of things available. The free version is a great place to start. It gives you a good introduction to the Kanban Maturity Model and to what's there and how you can start navigating. And as you start maturing and starting to see more, then it becomes worthwhile to sign up for the paid versions.
Yeah, and maybe for the end, the last request from me, because guys, we are doing this for you, not for ourselves. Okay, so if you have any questions, feedback, anything that you are looking for, just let us know. Okay, so there is a tab contact, go there. There is email address. Write to this email address. It's not random black hole mailbox. We are there, real people behind this mailbox. So we are really looking for your feedback and what you find useful, what you would like to improve. Also, if you want to share with us some reviews of how you are using KMM Plus and KMM, we'll be more than grateful. So please don't hesitate and just talk to us.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Anna. And
thank you very much.
This was really useful, I think. And thank you. This will end our webinar for today. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Have a nice evening or day wherever you are. Bye-bye.